Every morning at 6:15 a.m., Daisy Walker noticed him, the man in the tailored charcoal suit who requested the same breakfast with unwavering precision. 2 eggs over easy, sourdough toast, crispy bacon, and black coffee, no sugar. He always sat at the corner booth by the window, where the early morning sunlight created a golden halo around his sharp profile as he reviewed documents from his leather portfolio. "Morning, usual?" Daisy asked, coffee pot already in hand as she approached his table. After 3 months of this exact routine, she didn't really need to ask. "Please," Noah Vincent replied with a warm smile that never quite reached his eyes that held the weight of responsibilities Daisy couldn't begin to imagine. Daisy poured his coffee with practiced precision. At 26, she had mastered the art of diner service at Millis, a classic establishment nestled between gleaming skyscrapers in downtown Seattle. The juxtaposition of the humble diner against the surrounding financial district created a strange charm that kept the place packed with a mix of construction workers, office assistants, and business executives. "One of these days, I'm going to convince you to try our pancakes," Daisy teased, tucking a strand of auburn hair behind her ear. "They're life-changing." Noah glanced up from his papers. "Is that a professional assessment, Miss Walker?" "Absolutely," she replied with confidence. "I wouldn't steer you wrong on matters of breakfast importance." His smile broadened slightly, revealing perfect teeth. "Maybe tomorrow, then." As Daisy headed toward the kitchen to place his order, she noticed his gaze following her but dismissed it as her imagination. Men like him, polished, successful, undoubtedly attached to someone equally impressive, didn't notice waitresses beyond their ability to deliver hot coffee and correct orders. Behind the swinging doors, her coworker Tricia nudged her playfully. "Suit guy's looking extra fine today." "Stop," Daisy whispered. "He's just a customer." "A customer who only smiles for you," Tricia observed. "I served him once when you were sick and he barely looked up from his phone." Daisy rolled her eyes. "He's probably some mid-level manager who takes himself too seriously." What Daisy didn't know was that Noah Vincent wasn't just any businessman. At 32, he had built Vincent Aerospace from a small engineering firm to a revolutionary company that had secured billions in government contracts and private investments for sustainable aviation technology. His net worth had recently crossed the $9 billion mark, earning him features in Forbes and Time. Yet he remained intensely private, avoiding the spotlight that came with his success. Noah watched Daisy interact with other customers, her genuine laugh, the way she remembered everyone's preferences, how she slipped an extra muffin to the elderly man who came in every Wednesday. There was something refreshingly authentic about her that stood in stark contrast to the calculated interactions that filled the rest of his day. When she returned with his breakfast, he closed his portfolio. "Thank you, Daisy." She paused, surprised he remembered her name, though she wore a name tag. "You're welcome. Enjoy." "I always do." His voice carried a sincerity that made her cheeks warm slightly. As Noah ate his precisely prepared breakfast, he found himself doing what he always did, observing Daisy with growing interest. In his world of strategic negotiations and calculated risks, she was a variable he couldn't quantify, and it intrigued him. The following morning, when Noah arrived at Millis, Daisy was already pouring coffee for a table of construction workers. She caught his eye and nodded toward his usual booth, which he noted she had already prepared with silverware and a single daisy in a small vase, a touch that wasn't there for other customers. Once seated, Noah noticed something else unusual, a stack of pancakes alongside his regular order. He looked up questioningly as Daisy approached. "I took the liberty," she explained with a confident smile. "On the house, if you hate them, I'll personally make you eggs." Noah stared at the perfectly golden pancakes, a touch of butter melting on top. "That's very presumptuous." "Confident," she corrected. "There's a difference." The spontaneous gesture struck him. In his world, people didn't make decisions for Noah Vincent. They awaited his instructions, his approval. Yet here was this waitress, boldly altering his routine without fear. He cut into the pancakes and took a deliberate bite. The light, fluffy texture and subtle vanilla flavor were undeniably perfect. "Well?" Daisy asked, arms crossed expectantly. "They're adequate," he replied, struggling to maintain his serious expression. Daisy laughed, the sound genuine and bright. "Such high praise, I'll inform the chef immediately of your overwhelming enthusiasm." Noah found himself chuckling, a rare, unguarded moment. "They're excellent, thank you for the intervention." "Sometimes change is good," she said, refilling his coffee. "Even for creatures of habit like yourself." As she walked away, Noah realized he had been smiling not the practiced, professional smile he offered to business associates, but something real. It left an unfamiliar feeling in his chest, one he wasn't entirely comfortable with. During the next few weeks, their morning interactions evolved. Noah began arriving 15 minutes earlier, allowing more time for brief conversations with Daisy before his workday began. He learned she was taking night classes in environmental science, that she had a younger brother in college whom she partially supported, and that she could identify any bird native to the Pacific Northwest. "My dad was an avid bird watcher," she explained one morning. "After he died, I kept up with it. It makes me feel connected to him." Noah, who rarely shared personal details, found himself telling her about his passion for vintage aircraft models. "I have an entire room dedicated to them. Some people think it's childish." "Those people lack imagination," Daisy replied without hesitation. "What's your favorite?" "A 1948 Lockheed Constellation. I built it with my grandfather when I was 10. Their conversations were brief but meaningful, and Noah began to structure his mornings around these moments. Meanwhile, Daisy found herself looking forward to his arrival, even setting her alarm 15 minutes earlier to ensure she was ready when he came in. One rainy Tuesday, Noah arrived looking particularly stressed, his phone buzzing incessantly. "Rough morning?" Daisy asked, setting down his coffee. "The Tokyo deal is falling apart," he muttered, then caught himself sharing business details he typically kept private. Daisy didn't press for details. Instead, she returned minutes later with his breakfast and something extra, a perfectly folded paper crane. "My roommate in college was Japanese," she explained. "She taught me that these bring good luck." Noah carefully picked up the delicate creation. "I didn't know you were superstitious." "I'm not," Daisy replied, "but sometimes a small gesture can shift perspective." "And perspective is everything, isn't it?" Noah tucked the paper crane into his breast pocket. Later that day, during the tense video conference that saved the Tokyo contract, his fingers occasionally touched the outline of the crane through his jacket. Somehow, its presence steadied him. The next morning, he placed a small wooden box on the counter when paying his bill. "What's this?" Daisy asked. "Open it later," he replied, his usual composure slightly strained. In the break room, Daisy discovered a beautiful hand-carved bird, a Steller's jay, her favorite Northwest species. The craftsmanship was exquisite, the detail remarkable. There was no note, just the perfect wooden bird that somehow captured everything she'd casually mentioned about her love of bird watching. When Noah arrived the following day, Daisy was uncharacteristically quiet. "Is everything okay?" he asked, concerned by her reserve. "The bird," she said softly, "it's beautiful, but I can't accept it." Noah's brow furrowed. "Why not? It looks expensive," she explained, "and I'm your waitress. It crosses a line." Noah hesitated, unaccustomed to rejection of any kind. "It didn't cost anything, I carved it." Daisy's eyes widened in surprise. "You made that? It's museum quality?" "Another hobby," he explained with a small shrug. "One I rarely have time for anymore. You carved that for me." The realization shifted something in her perception of him. "You gave me a paper crane," he said simply, as if that explained everything. That evening, as Daisy was finishing her shift, she was surprised to see Noah entering the diner again. He was dressed differently, dark jeans and a casual button-down that somehow made him look both more approachable and impossibly more handsome. "Did you forget something this morning?" she asked, wiping down the counter. No. He seemed uncharacteristically uncertain. I was wondering if you might want to get coffee sometime. Not here, obviously. Daisy blinked in surprise. You want to get coffee, with me? Yes, he confirmed, his usual confidence wavering slightly. Unless that also crosses a line. Daisy considered him for a moment. There was something about Noah that intrigued her, a depth behind his polished exterior that she'd glimpsed in their brief morning conversations. Okay, she finally agreed, but I picked the place, somewhere that doesn't serve breakfast. Noah smiled, a genuine expression that transformed his face. Deal. They agreed to meet that Saturday at a small bookstore cafe in Pike Place Market. As Noah left, Tricia emerged from the kitchen with wide eyes. Did Suit Guy just ask you out? It's just coffee, Daisy replied, trying to downplay her excitement. Honey, men who look like that don't ask for just coffee, Tricia said knowingly. On Saturday, Daisy arrived at the cafe 10 minutes early, nervously adjusting her casual outfit, a simple blue dress that brought out her eyes and a light cardigan. She had debated what to wear, wanting to look nice without appearing to have tried too hard. Noah arrived exactly on time, carrying a small package wrapped in brown paper. In casual clothes, he looked different, still polished but more relaxed, more human. You look lovely, he said, his eyes taking in her appearance with appreciation. Thanks. You clean up pretty well yourself, she replied, gesturing to his outfit. I wasn't sure you owned anything but suits. They ordered and found a quiet corner table. The initial conversation was slightly awkward as they adjusted to seeing each other outside the diner's familiar context. So, Daisy began, what do you do, Noah? You've never actually said. Noah hesitated, choosing his words carefully. I work in aerospace engineering. My company develops sustainable aviation technology. That sounds fascinating, Daisy said sincerely. Is that what brought you to Seattle? I'm actually from here originally, he explained. My grandfather worked for Boeing. He inspired my interest in aviation. As they talked, the initial awkwardness dissolved. Noah found himself sharing stories of his childhood, how he built his first engine at 12, how his parents thought his obsession with flight was just a phase. Daisy spoke about her environmental studies, her dream of working in conservation, and her close relationship with her brother. This is for you, Noah said eventually, sliding the brown package across the table. Nothing expensive, I promise. Inside, Daisy found a dog-eared copy of Birds of the Pacific Northwest with detailed illustrations and handwritten notes in the margins. It was my grandfather's, Noah explained. When you talked about bird watching with your father, I thought you might appreciate it. Daisy ran her fingers over the worn cover, deeply touched by the personal nature of the gift. Noah, I can't take your grandfather's book. He would have liked you, Noah said simply. He valued passion and authenticity above all else. Their coffee date extended into a walk through Pike Place Market, where Noah surprised Daisy by knowing the names of several vendors. As they strolled past flower stalls and artisan shops, their hands occasionally brushed, creating small currents of electricity neither acknowledged. At the famous fish market, they watched the theatrical throwing of fresh catches, and Daisy laughed in delight when one of the fishmongers recognized her. You know these guys? Noah asked. They come to the diner sometimes after their shift, she explained. Seattle's smaller than it seems. As the afternoon progressed, Daisy realized how easy it was to be with Noah. Despite his reserved nature, there was a thoughtfulness to him that drew her in the way he listened intently, remembered details from past conversations, and seemed genuinely interested in her perspectives. When they reached the waterfront, watching ferries cross the Sound under a cloudy sky, Noah finally gathered the courage to ask what had been on his mind. Would you have dinner with me next weekend? A proper dinner, he clarified. Daisy turned to face him, the sea breeze gently moving her hair. I'd like that. But Noah, I should be clear about something. I'm not looking for anything complicated. My life is, well, it's full with work and school. I understand, he replied. I'm not looking to complicate your life. What Noah didn't say was how unprecedented this was for him, pursuing someone who knew nothing of his wealth or status. In his experience, relationships came with agendas, with people who wanted something from Noah Vincent, CEO. With Daisy, he was just Noah, the man who liked his eggs over easy and carved wooden birds. Their first dinner date was at a small Italian restaurant tucked away in a residential neighborhood. Noah had intentionally chosen somewhere intimate but unpretentious, worried that a more exclusive venue might make Daisy uncomfortable or, worse, reveal his identity prematurely. Over pasta and wine, their connection deepened. Noah found himself laughing more than he had in years, while Daisy discovered layers to him that challenged her initial impression. "Wait," she said when he mentioned a recent trip. "You went to Japan for a weekend." Noah realized his mistake. "It was for work. The company sent me." "That must be some company," Daisy remarked. "My boss won't even pay for parking." Noah steered the conversation back to safer ground, asking about her recent exam in environmental policy. He was genuinely fascinated by her passion for conservation, her ability to see problems from multiple angles. As weeks passed, they fell into a rhythm. Noah still came to the diner each morning, but now their brief interactions carried the weight of shared secrets and growing affection. On weekends, they explored Seattle together, hiking trails with spectacular views of Mount Rainier, visiting obscure museums, or simply walking through different neighborhoods. After a month of dating, Noah invited Daisy to his home for dinner, promising to cook himself. The address he gave was in an exclusive area overlooking Lake Washington, and as her rideshare approached the neighborhood, Daisy felt increasingly out of place among the sprawling mansions. When the car stopped at a modern glass and cedar structure with a stunning lakefront view, Daisy checked the address twice, certain there was a mistake. Noah opened the door before she could ring the bell, looking slightly nervous. "Welcome." Daisy stepped into a soaring entryway that opened to a great room with floor-to-ceiling windows revealing a panoramic lake view. The space was beautifully designed warm woods contrasting with steel and glass, museum-quality art on the walls, yet surprisingly comfortable and lived in. "Noah," she said slowly, taking in her surroundings, "what exactly do you do at your aerospace company?" He took a deep breath, knowing this moment would inevitably change things. "I founded it. Vincent Aerospace is my company." Daisy's expression shifted from confusion to realization. "Vincent." "Noah Vincent, as in, the Noah Vincent," he nodded, watching her carefully. "Yes. The billionaire who's revolutionizing sustainable aviation," she continued, recalling headlines she'd seen. "The one who was on the cover of Forbes last month." "The article exaggerated many things," he said uncomfortably. Daisy walked to the window, needing space to process this revelation. "Why didn't you tell me?" "At first, it didn't seem relevant," Noah explained, keeping his distance. "Then, as I got to know you, I liked that you saw me, not my net worth. With you, I'm just the guy who orders the same breakfast every day." "But you're not," Daisy replied, turning to face him, "and you knew that all along." "Would you have had coffee with me if you'd known?" he asked quietly. Daisy considered this. "Probably not. I would have assumed we had nothing in common." "Exactly," Noah said. "That's why I didn't say anything. But Daisy, nothing else has changed. I'm still the same person who carves birds and loves aviation history." Daisy glanced around at the magnificent home that told a very different story than the one she'd imagined. "I need some time to think about this. It's a lot to take in." "I understand," Noah said, disappointment evident in his voice. "Let me drive you home." "No," she said firmly. "I'll get a ride." As Daisy left, Noah stood in his vast, empty home, feeling the weight of his success in a way he never had before. For the first time, his wealth felt like an obstacle rather than an achievement. The next morning, Noah didn't come to the diner, nor the following day. By the third day of his absence, Daisy found herself watching the door each time it opened, a hollow feeling growing in her chest. "You should call him." Tricia suggested when she caught Daisy checking her phone for the 5th time during their shift. He lied to me, Daisy replied stubbornly. He omitted, Tricia corrected. And honestly, can you blame him? The man probably has people trying to get close to him for his money all the time. Daisy sighed, knowing her friend had a point. But we're from completely different worlds, Trish. What future could we possibly have? The one you build together if you're both willing to try. That evening, as Daisy was walking home from her environmental science class, a familiar Tesla pulled alongside the curb. The window lowered to reveal Noah, looking tired and uncertain. Can we talk? He asked. Please. They ended up at a small park nearby, sitting on a bench as twilight descended over the city. I'm sorry I wasn't completely honest with you, Noah began. But everything that matters, how I feel about you, who I am when I'm with you, that's all real. Daisy studied his face in the fading light. I'm not angry that you're successful, Noah. I'm hurt that you didn't trust me enough to tell me. It wasn't about trust, he explained. When people know who I am, they change. They want something or they treat me differently. With you, I could just be myself. And who is that? Daisy asked softly. Because I'm not sure I know anymore. Noah took her hand, relieved when she didn't pull away. I'm someone who's built a life that looks impressive from the outside but feels empty most of the time. I'm someone who found more joy in 20 minutes at a diner counter with you than in board meetings that determine multi-million-dollar contracts. I'm someone who's falling in love with a woman who serves the best pancakes in Seattle and can name every bird on Puget Sound. Daisy's breath caught at his words. You're falling in love with me. I already have, he admitted. And it terrifies me because I have no idea if we can make this work, but I want to try, if you'll give me another chance. Daisy was quiet for a long moment. I need you to promise me something. Anything, Noah said immediately. No more hiding parts of yourself. Good, bad, complicated, I want all of it. I promise, he said solemnly. And I need you to understand something, she continued. I won't change who I am. I'm still going to work at Millis until I finish my degree. I'm still going to take the bus most days. I'm still going to be the person who clips coupons and buys generic brands. Noah smiled, a weight lifting from his shoulders. I would never ask you to be anyone else. It's who you are that matters to me, not what you do or what you buy. Their reconciliation marked a new phase in their relationship. Noah introduced Daisy to his world gradually dinner with his close friends, a tour of Vincent Aerospace headquarters, where she was impressed by the sustainable initiatives, but unafraid to question some of their approaches, and eventually a charity gala where she charmed everyone with her unaffected authenticity. In turn, Daisy welcomed Noah into her life Sunday dinners with her brother when he visited from college study sessions where Noah would quiz her on environmental regulations, and even a shift at the diner when they were short-staffed during a holiday rush, which resulted in several burnt toast orders but delighted the regular customers. 6 months into their relationship, Noah found himself back at Millis early one morning, not for breakfast but with a specific purpose. He had arranged everything with Tricia and the owner, who were happily complicit in his plan. When Daisy arrived for her shift, she found the diner empty except for Noah, sitting at his usual booth with 2 cups of coffee and a small box on the table. What's going on? She asked, confused by the vacant diner. Where is everyone? I bought out the morning, Noah explained, standing to greet her. I hope that's okay. You closed a business for a date, Daisy asked, half amused, half exasperated. This is exactly the billionaire behavior we've talked about. Not for a date, Noah corrected, suddenly looking nervous. For a question. He guided her to sit across from him, then took her hands in his. Daisy Walker, these past months have been the happiest of my life. You've shown me what really matters, not success or achievement, but connection, authenticity, and love. Daisy's eyes widened as Noah moved from the booth to one knee beside her. I love how you challenge me, how you see the world, how you've built your life on your own terms, he continued. I love that you still make me order my own pancakes instead of automatically bringing them. I love that you're pursuing your dreams with such determination. He opened the small box, revealing a ring with a simple yet stunning emerald surrounded by small diamonds. This belonged to my grandmother. Green, for your love of nature and for the way your eyes change color in different light. I'm asking if you'll marry me exactly as you are because that's who I've fallen in love with. Tears filled Daisy's eyes as she looked from the ring to Noah's hopeful face. Are you sure? Your world is so different from mine. Our worlds, Noah corrected gently. We'll build one together with parts of both. I've never been more certain of anything. Daisy's smile broke through her tears. Then yes, absolutely yes. As Noah slid the ring onto her finger, the diner's staff and regular customers who had been waiting outside burst through the doors with cheers and applause. Tricia was already passing out champagne in coffee mugs, while the elderly Wednesday regular distributed muffins he'd brought for the occasion. Their wedding, 6 months later, reflected their blended worlds, a ceremony in a conservation area Daisy had helped restore, followed by a reception that included everyone from Noah's executive team to Daisy's diner regulars. They honeymooned by taking his private jet, modified with Vincent Aerospace's latest sustainable technology, on a global bird-watching expedition. 1 year after their first meeting, they returned to Millie's for breakfast. Noah sat in his usual booth while Daisy, now the environmental director at Vincent Aerospace's new conservation foundation, joined him rather than serving him. Still want the usual, she teased, sliding into the booth across from him. Actually, Noah replied with a smile, I think I'll have the pancakes. As they shared breakfast in the morning sunlight, surrounded by the familiar sounds of the diner, both reflected on the unlikely journey that had brought them together, a waitress and a billionaire, finding common ground over coffee and shared values, building a love story neither had expected but both now couldn't imagine living without. Tricia, now the morning manager, brought them each a paper crane with their coffee. For continued good luck, she explained with a wink. Daisy squeezed Noah's hand across the table. I think we've got plenty of that already. Noah lifted her hand to his lips. We make our own luck, remember. One breakfast at a time,